We're going to resume our program. Thank you. This was a wonderful dinner. We appreciate the incredible dinner. Round of applause. And I know there's still more, so help yourself as we go through this. Dessert, my understanding is dessert will be a little bit later in the program, so eat seconds and then you'll have, you can eat some more dessert, eat dessert, so. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is introduce each table, and I was supposed to identify somebody at each table to do those honors, so I'm just going to kind of pick somebody at each table that I know. So I think we'll start with Margaret here, because I know she knows everybody at the table.
Well, I'm very pleased to introduce Dearborn Rotarian and the past president, Val Murphy, and her dear husband, Steve Goodrich, and Pastor Gene Overman, you've heard, given the invitation, and my friend George Waiters, and who is also a previous Rotarian, so maybe he can be kind and George.
And I saw Bob put his hand up here, so Bob can introduce this table.
Volunteer. Let me introduce Imogene Woodard and her husband Jim, and Emily Chambers, who's a Rotarian, and one of our guests of honor this evening, Roger Miller.
And I'll pick on our club president, David, to introduce the table we were at. I was out.
Okay. Eric Reeder, one of our past presidents, was seated at our table. Kathy Khalil and Maria Barada, Kathy's friend, is here tonight.
And Shannon, would you want to introduce your table?
Sure. My partner in crime over here, Colleen. Thank you for helping me with this second year. Her husband, Tom. And my mommy, this is Doreen. I am everything I am because this woman sacrificed a lot. And I'm sassy because so is she.
She's been a Santa Snaps volunteer.
She has been a Santa Snaps volunteer.
And last but not least, Angie, do you want to introduce your table?
Sure. We have Rotarian Darlene Schoolmaster and her husband Jim, right?
Correct.
I want to make sure. Martha Nawchuk and my beautiful husband Tom.
Beautiful.
You are?
So thank you. It's wonderful to have all the Rotarians here and all of your guests, so welcome tonight. Next up, I'm going to ask our club president, David Anderson, to introduce his board for 2023-2024.
I know some of the people are here, but I'll read off everybody's name. Serving this year for, Eric said 2023-2024, Margaret Bloom, Emily Chambers, Leslie Herrick, Martha Nawchuk, Angie Linder, Jackie Lovejoy, Al Martin, Colleen Nieman, Gene Overman, Shannon Peterson, and that's our official board. But as our club's gotten smaller and smaller, like everybody in our club is essential, and Bob Zilkowski here has stepped up doing the x-ray and a lot of printed material, and then Angie, these are two jobs. Jim Ives used to do like our webmaster and our x-ray, and Angie's our webmaster now. So Kathy Khalil has her My Potential mentoring program. So like everybody in our club is a valuable member. So it's just everybody should be recognized, because sometimes we have people that don't come to meetings, but then out of the blue they get something done. Like for our scholarship celebration, I was looking at some of the committees, and you'd see names like Shiva, and I go, he hasn't been to the meetings, but there he's helping with the scholarship committee. George Duraney, and I know there's other people, so just appreciate everybody in the club, everything everybody does.
And thank you, David, for serving this. I think it's going to be a 2-year stint in this role, isn't it? So.
Let's be volunteers.
In any event, thank you for your service to the club. Okay. Next up, we're going to begin to honor our guests of honor, I guess, and Margaret is going to come up to talk about past district governor and past President Jim Ives.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Jim is not here to be with us tonight. He's already very active in the club that he has joined with his wife,
closer to where they live in St. Clair, Michigan. So we're very happy for them, but we're going to miss Jim greatly. And we lost Diane a couple of years ago, soon after they moved. But Jim has decided to join her, and he sends his best wishes. I sent him a note, and of course he did give me some words of wisdom, which I'll be glad to share with you. But Jim was a Rotarian, has been a Rotarian since 1991. And it's a family thing. When I talk about Jim, I think about legacy. His father built the legacy of Rotary for his family. His father was Bill Ives, and he was very active in the Rotary Club of Detroit. And the first time I met or remember meeting or seeing Jim was we had an event at the Dearborn Inn. And at that time, we could probably fill the Rotunda room, if anybody knows the Dearborn Inn. We had over 100 people. And Jim was receiving a Paul Harris Fellowship from his father, who was extremely proud that Jim was following his legacy as a Rotarian. And also, Jim's brother Russ is also a member of the Rotary Club of Detroit. And so the whole family is involved. It really is a legacy. And speaking of family, they've participated for several years as youth exchange parents, and one of their sons actually went to Finland on a youth exchange. So they've always had a lot of activity. But 1991, so a Rotarian for 32 years. He's not giving it up, he's just working even harder. And another good memory I have is the fact when we had Santa Snaps on Hines Drive, the Santa Snaps workshop, he and his family would always volunteer for Thanksgiving evening. And how many people give up their Thanksgivings to do something like that? But they did, and it meant so much to us, so much to many other people as well. And I also consider Jim to be a model, a role model for all of us, and a mentor. He has worked at the club, district, and international levels on serving all over the world. He's served on countless committees and initiatives, including Launch Detroit. And Launch Detroit is something that Bob Zolkowski and I have been very involved in. It's a program for entrepreneurs. It's a microfinance program that provides education, mentoring, networking, and microloans. And Jim was our treasurer. Who likes to be treasurer and, follow up with collections? Some people do, but Jim would make sure the entrepreneurs knew what their obligations were if they took one of our loans. So unfortunately, he's given up that role too, so somebody else has taken that on, but I'm sure he's moving on to something else. So I would say Jim would take on any role. No job was too big or too small, and he didn't mind. It didn't have to be a big thing to do. It could be just taking pictures every week, being our club photographer, to becoming the X-ray editor, to becoming a web developer. We really didn't have a website even till Jim stepped up to help make that possible. And he was also our visioning facilitator for 3 different sessions. We started visioning, this was a district initiative, to have our club gather and talk about what's our vision going to be for the next 5 years. So he did that in 2009, 2014, and 2019. So I know Bob Zolkowski will be having some other people helping with that very soon, because we'll be doing that in 2024. He's also served at the district and international levels. He was Sergeant at Arms for multiple Rotary International conventions. That means he's traveled internationally. And he was a member of the Rotary International Charter and Rules Committee. And of course, he was a 100th anniversary sponsor this year and a cheerleader. He would definitely send periodic messages to me and to all of us on our committee telling us what a great job we were doing. So he put his heart and everything into it, was there that night to cheer us on. And so Jim is definitely going to be missed. He was very thoughtful about everything, but he was super organized. And you kind of miss some of that super organization. Sometimes it kind of annoys you, but you really appreciate it because it means a lot going forward for those who are following up. But what he's going to advise you is to engage. Whatever it is that you want to be in Rotary, you can create that role, you can do it. Just become engaged at whatever level makes sense for you. And it's so important. It doesn't matter your age, but you know, let's start everybody young. He started his kids young, so let's start young, build it up, but not be afraid to take leadership. You might be somebody that's not ever thought about leadership, but think about it, because it's really important to take that role, and he would encourage that. So in honor of Jim, I think we should all give a round of applause. And he will be receiving a certificate from the club, but he's going to be receiving more than that. I'm going to read it to you. The Rotary Club of Dearborn is proud to make a donation in your name, and that's in Jim's name, of $500 to the charity of your choice.
Thank you, Margaret. Very well deserved honor. Next, I'll invite Bob Zilkowski up to talk about our other honoree, who's not one of the co-presidents tonight. So.
Thank you. Let me first say that it's really a personal honor to be chosen as the Rotarian who's going to recognize and make this special presentation. 2023 marks the 100th anniversary of the Rotary Club of Dearborn, but it also represents and marks 50 years of service above self to member Roger Miller. The Miller family has been active in Rotary since 1939.
Wow.
Roger's dad, Harry Miller, joined the club in 1939, and he went on to become the youngest president that the club had in 1946, which, if you're taking a look in terms of age, was the year that I was born. In 1942, the club sponsored an auxiliary of Rotary wives, known as the Rotary Anns, and Roger's mother, Edith Miller, became a member of that group and was with them until they disbanded as well. And they ended their run when Rotary began accepting women into membership, which was probably the best thing the Rotary Club ever did. Bar none. And in 1973, sponsored by his father, Roger Miller joined the club. So chronologically, there has been a Miller in our Rotary Club for the past 84 years and counting.
Whoa. Wow.
When doing research on Roger's history and contribution to the club, I kept landing on three phrases, and they kept hitting me over and over and over as I was trying to describe Roger's contributions. And so those three phrases are year after year. Second, the Rotarian behind the scenes. And third, attention to detail enhances the experience for everyone. Roger's every effort always seems to include these three phrases. Most recently, I'm sure we recognize Roger for the work that he does staging and setting up the venue for our annual scholarship dinner. Year after year, Roger is the Rotarian behind the scenes, whose attention to detail enhances the experience for everyone. At our 100th anniversary gala, Roger was also the Rotarian behind the scenes, responsible for the beautiful floral settings throughout the venue, and he also had created a historical display of Rotary on the main floor. I'll give you an example of his attention to detail, because I kind of saw him do this when we were at the 100th anniversary. He was setting up what we call the Hall of Fame, all the past presidents and all of them in frames, and they were spaced out evenly, and Roger was going from frame to frame, measuring with his hand how far it was from the next frame. And you know what? He moved one frame 1 inch. That's what made it perfect. That was that attention to detail that enhances the experience for everyone. Year after year, Roger has been the chair of the Hugh Archer Golf Outing. 16 years, 2006 to 2022. And let's not forget Santa Snaps.
Yes.
While the president-elect of the club was always the chair of the event, it was Roger who built and repaired the set and decorations. He also stored them away every year in his warehouse and led the effort to bring them back out. He brought them out in November and hauled them back in January. And attention to detail, Roger supervised the placement of every bulb and every light on every tree and every package. He would also stay after other Rotarians had left just to make adjustments. It paid off. When people came in to the Santa Snaps location, they were always taken by how beautiful it looked, how well it worked, how smooth things went, and all of that had to do with the man behind the scenes. Going back to a time before any of us were a member of the Rotary Club, there was an event that began in the late 70s and moved to the middle 80s, known as the Miss Dearborn pageant. It was sponsored by the Rotary Club of Dearborn and affiliated with the Miss Michigan and Miss America pageants. The club's approach to the pageant was unique. There were special sets set up for each year. Each year had its individual theme, and Roger was the man behind the scenes. He was the stage manager for the show. He designed and built the sets and directed the action on the stage from the wings. And when representatives from the Miss Michigan pageant came to visit and see what we were doing, they were so taken by it that they then went back and told all the other local Miss pageants, local city Miss pageants, that they should be doing the same kind of production that was being done in Dearborn. 50 years passes quickly when you're doing the things you love, with the people you love, supporting the causes you love. I could go on with many more examples in praise of the dedication of Roger Miller. But let me remind you again of that one sentence with those 3 phrases. Year after year, Roger has been the Rotarian behind the scenes whose attention to detail has enhanced the experience for everyone. Now, before I bring Roger up to give him a little gift, I want to let you know that Jim Ives, when he was apologizing to us for not being able to make it, also had some words to say, and I'm going to read those to you now. Jim Ives says, "Thanks very much. Have a great evening and celebration. Special thanks to both Shannon and Colleen for their dedicated service as repeat presidents. And of course, thanks to Roger for all his years of incredible contributions to make Dearborn Rotary look exceptional. Most of what we've done as a club has been done on the back of Roger. And this is Jim, was always grateful for his willingness to help, to step in wherever needed. Truly a great Rotarian and a great person." Roger, would you come up, please? I told people before, we're going to give an award, don't stand behind the podium. For your 50 years of service above self to Rotary and the Rotary Club of Dearborn, in gratitude, this certificate is presented to Roger Miller. The Rotary Club of Dearborn is proud to make a donation in your name of $500 to the charity of your choice.
Well, first I have to say, what has really been great in being a member of Dearborn Rotary is all the members were just always willing to get out and do anything. And we had big projects, but I just had no trouble getting people to help and, and to organize parts of things and what have you. It just was great to work with all the members of the Dearborn Rotary Club. So, and coming in, I had a lot of years with members in the club that were there long before me, and learned so much from all of them, not only about Rotary, but other things about business and life and that. So it's been a tremendous experience to be in Dearborn Rotary. And that's why I hope we can do more to get more people into Dearborn Rotary and see what it really is and what it does for the community as well as themselves. So thank you very much for this.
All right. We're now going to be recognizing our two co-presidents from 2022-2023. So as we prepared to move into our centennial year in 2022-2023, we were all shocked and saddened when President-elect Rick Gower died suddenly in January 2022. Rick was passionate about service and dedicated himself to this club and everything else he did with 100% energy. He was actually my sponsor in the club, and I also got to know him at Henry Ford College. He was a retiree. He served on our union's executive board as the retiree representative. So we all miss Rick every day, and I'm sure we're all thinking about him tonight. Given the short time frame between Rick's death and the new Rotary year, the previous two presidents at the time stepped up to serve. In consultation with the board, they agreed to serve as co-presidents in 2022-2023 to lead us through the centennial year and through those all of those events. We all owe them an enormous gratitude. So tonight it's my pleasure to honor both of them. Let's give them a round of applause first. So I'm going to start with past President Colleen Nieman. And I should mention that Colleen and I were kind of in the first time she did this, back in 2020, 2021, we were in the lineup together. So I got to know her during the year that I was, I guess, president-elect. I can't remember where she was president nominee, I was president-elect. And we got to know each other through that experience and all of that. But Colleen certainly had a very challenging first year as the club president, because that was, of course, COVID hit towards the end of my year, and then all of her year was dominated by COVID. So I'm going to read a little bit from her biography. Colleen came to serve as pastor of St. Paul Lutheran Church in January 2011. She became very active in community organizations that put our service above self motto at their core. Colleen and her husband Tom, who's here tonight, are proud of their 5 adult children and partners, and welcomed a first grandchild in 2020. I don't know if there's a second but
yeah, there's a second one this year.
Okay, so now there are 2, so that's wonderful. During her, I guess her initial year, Keep Becoming Rotary was kind of the hashtag, and then of course COVID dominated that first year that she served. And then 2 years later, she stepped up again to be co-president with Shannon. And again, we'd already begun the plans for the 100th anniversary. I'm not at all surprised, knowing Colleen as well as I've gotten to know her over the last several years, that she was willing to step up and take on this additional year. Most of us have our 1 year, and then we kind of transition over to the foundation. And I can tell you that because I'm chairing the foundation this year, but Colleen has been, I think she's going to probably have she and Shannon both are going to have the longest service ever on the foundation board as well, trying to figure out who's going to be, well, Colleen will be chair next year, and then Shannon, and then Colleen, and then Shannon.
I know we told you that.
So I've gotten to know her also in the capacity of the foundation, and she's been very, very dedicated to that service as well. But we are very, I would say, very blessed and honored that Colleen was willing to step up and do this another year. And I know she had a wonderful time working with Shannon. But so service above self is our theme tonight, and certainly Colleen Nieman has demonstrated that many times over the years she's been in the club and before that. And so our first honor for one of the co-presidents is I'm going to ask Colleen to come up, and I've got a plaque for you. Okay, I've got a few things for you. I can just read this. This says, Club President presented to Reverend Colleen Nieman in recognition of outstanding dedication and service, Rotary Club of Dearborn 2022-2023. And we're going to do it here over here. So
Because Bob says never behind the podium.
Yes, please. One more. Perfect.
you want to say anything?
Yes. I do have something I want to say, but I need my little brain here.
Eric, there's an envelope with a pen.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's, I have the pen from
Oh.
this time around.
Oh, you're getting another
Shannon
one.
didn't get one yet.
Oh, you're getting another one. So.
So I'll wear this as the repeat offender. Yeah, who knew, right? And Shannon and I, though, did know without having to think too hard that it was the right thing to do to co-president this past year together. And Shannon and I were very transparent with one another. There are some things that I wasn't able to do or cover, which Shannon was, and there were some things that Shannon wasn't able to do or cover, which I was able to do. And that's how our strengths and weaknesses come together to make a whole. The thing that I was feel really gifted about in having served this second presidency in cohortness with Shannon is that we got to serve in the year that Jennifer Jones was the first female president of Rotary International, and at that time Rotary's 117 years. The one thing that I was able to do in our co-year was to be able to go to the president-elect training, and I was texting away throughout the thing to Shannon like, oh this, oh that, oh this, oh that. And I want to share again the colors, and these colors are noted if you flip over your program and look at the top. The colors for our year as co-presidents were purple, which coordinates with Rotary's polio eradication vaccination effort, white, which coordinates with Rotary International Peace Fellow Initiative. And one of the things that has always captured my imagination about Rotary is that Rotary was at the inception of the United Nations before World War I was even over. There were Rotarians in Europe that were saying, you know, when this is over, we're going to have to learn how to get along again. And so Rotary is the only, I think, NGO seat at the United Nations. So I'm very proud to be a part of that and connected to that. And so the white is the Rotary's Peace Fellow Initiative, and the green is Rotary's International Environmental Action. Now, these three colors were those also for the women's suffrage movement, although we probably don't know that if we look historically, because all the pictures from that time, you know, Cady Stanton, yay, were black and white.
But those were the three colors for the women's suffrage movement. And as I mentioned, therefore appropriate for Rotary International President Jennifer Jones from our own District 6400. Now, the logo also that's on the back of your program there was designed by an Indigenous Australian, and that's where the Rotary International Convention was held this year in May, and the Australian there used their hieroglyph for community. That's a hieroglyph for community, and that green line is actually a working stick. So, Shannon, you and I got to serve to continue to shepherd this community, and we wore our working stick out. It's been an honor to be co-president with you and to serve you again this year.
I'll move the water down this time.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so our, my notes here. Our other co-president from 2022-2023 is Shannon Peterson, and I actually have gotten to know her through not just through Rotary, but also through our joint kind of relationship with Dearborn Public Schools and Henry Ford College. As people may know, Jim certainly knows this, that our board of trustees at the college is also the board of education for the Dearborn Public Schools, and so I've gotten to know Shannon and Glenn and all of the school employees and administrators quite well over the years. But of course in Rotary I've gotten to know her better. I was the one who asked her to do the first tour of duty back in my year as whatever I was at that point. I knew I needed somebody to get into the presidential lineup, and I think Glenn helped with that a lot. I think he twisted an arm, and my apologies. I thought it was going to be for 1 year. It ended up being for 2 years. But thank you for stepping up the first time, and then obviously agreeing to go with Colleen for a second time. So Shannon is with the Dearborn Public Schools, and she's had a number of different roles. She's taught in the schools. She's worked in the administration as a deputy superintendent or assistant superintendent, and then currently you're the principal at Long Elementary right now. So she's had a long career in Dearborn Public Schools. She is her husband Eric, a nice name, are the proud parents of a daughter who teaches and 2 sons with careers in law enforcement. She was talking about one of them earlier, maybe both of them. I overheard part of the conversation. And you're also very happy grandparents. I don't know how many grandchildren? 3. So 3 grandchildren. So she joined, Shannon joined in 2016 and quickly rose up into leadership positions. Her first year as president was 2021-2022, and began the Ramadan food drive, collecting over 1,000 pounds of food, a Toys for Tots project with Interact, and My Potential Mentor Career Fair. And then of course, sadly, when Rick Gower did pass away, she and Colleen decided together that they would be willing to step up for another tour as the club president or club co-presidents. And a lot of that focus was on the centennial, and also kind of reconfiguring our meetings, because we had come out of, during the COVID years, we were mostly on Zoom, and then figuring out a model that really has, I think, worked quite well at the library, the Centennial Library, and we've had wonderful programs there, and that was the brainchild of Shannon and her co-president, Colleen. So we're, again, as I said with Colleen, we are very lucky and blessed to have had you in this role this past year, as well as your previous year. And so we wish to congratulate you, so I invite you to come up. And I will read the citation here. It says, Club President presented to Shannon Peterson in recognition of outstanding dedication and service, Rotary Club of Dearborn. Hers says 2021 to 2023 because she didn't get another plaque for her first year. So
Back to back.
That's okay.
Here, come over here. Welcome on this side.
There.
Hang on 1 second. Perfect.
Don't forget to add a little paint.
And you get another, oh, you get a pin. You don't know if you have
I don't
pins.
have a pin, thank you.
That was your way here.
Well, I really wasn't planning on saying anything. I will tell you though, he is the reason I did the job the first time, and yes, Glenn twisted an arm. But Glenn twisted an arm to get me on the Rotary board. So after I joined Rotary, he goes, hey, I gotta get a slate. Can I put you on the list for Rotary board? And I'm like, yeah, I've only been in the club for a year and a half. Nobody's gonna pick me. And then I realized 8 out of 10 made it, and I'm like, well, I kinda gotta make it now because, so it's been a privilege to serve with Colleen, and I like what you said, because what I was thinking about is your strengths and my strengths are different, and together we were better. So thank you. There was no question that we would serve for Rick. My last conversation with Rick, when he was awaiting his surgery, he asked me how my mom was doing. And I'm forever grateful for him, always worrying about her. Roger and Jim always helped me, because I don't have a lot of historical years in Rotary, and they were always gracious to give me back stories and to help remind me when my first year when I didn't have things done when they were supposed to be done, and I am grateful for that, Roger. And I really am glad that this year we focused on more service in our meetings. One of my favorites was the homeless bags. I hope we do it again. And truly living service above self, I think we've done that in our meetings this year more than we probably have in the past. And I'm grateful for that. And thank you to everybody who's helped in the last 2 years, because it was a team effort getting through everything. Margaret, your leadership and your committee on the 100-year, I think it was everything Rick hoped for. So he may not have been here to serve, but every one of us carried his torch, and I think he's up there pretty proud. But so thank you.
So this has been a wonderful evening as we've honored our several dedicated Dearborn Rotarians for their service above self. Our 2 past co-presidents, Colleen and Shannon, ensured continuity for our club at a difficult time after President-elect Rick Goward's untimely death, and Roger Miller and Jim Ives have played major roles in the successes we've had as a club. I would like to thank our hosts here at Zaman International for their gracious hospitality. And I know we'll be partnering with you going forward. That is something we look forward to. Thanks for this wonderful dinner. I'm looking forward to my dessert in a minute. To everyone here tonight, Dearborn Rotarians and guests, thank you for your commitment to service above self. We have had dedicated leadership in the last, for many years here in the club, and it's an honor to be in a club with so many talented members and leaders. At this point, we are going to recite the 4-way test, and then I think we can just continue on with our dessert after that, unless there's anything else, any other announcements.
Eric, you gonna call Shannon and Colleen up there to help you close out the meeting?
Yeah, that sounds good. Why don't you come up? And real quickly, before I should honor Martha Natchuk, thank you so much. She led our committee that planned this dinner tonight, so thank you to Martha. And certainly Bob and Margaret, and I know I'm probably forgetting some. David certainly was involved with the planning. Am I missing anybody?
And Angie.
And Angie.
And all of that pretty much covers our board. Right?
Right.
Thank you, board, again and again and again.
So thank you all for making this such a wonderful, wonderful evening. So I guess I'll turn it over to you for the 4-way test.
First,
Is this the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Yay, thank you everybody for coming.
Shannon, finish it up with under the podium.
What's that?
The object under the podium officially closed.
Oh, the bell.
Oh yes, that's right. The bell's here.
Oh.
And Eric, you did a great
Ding, ding,
job
ding.
too.
Thank you, Eric.
Go ring the bell.
Oh, we gotta ring the bell.
was gonna say, I don't think
You got a
any of you guys
gavel?
have rang the bells up ever.
I don't think I've ever rung the bell.
That's right, that's what it's here.
All right.